Welcome, baseball fans, to this edition of State of MLB. And this week we're talking Manfred and Clark. Manfred, the Commissioner of Baseball, and Tony Clark, the Chief Players Association representative, met in Arizona and had a nice little long discussion about a variety of issues about getting the season started. So it begs the question, are we finally getting closer? It does seem like we're getting closer in terms of games. In terms of overall getting the season started, we have a framework, but there are a lot of details that still haven't been hashed out. And for having gone through this for 3 months now, it's kind of late in the game to be this far apart, especially since both players and owners have mutually expressed the desire to have a season this year, albeit truncated. Going back to March, when they shut down spring training, the Players Association and the owners mutually agreed that when the season resumed, all players would get full prorated salaries. Now, they said this and agreed to this, and now owners are saying, well, we can't give you full prorated because we're going to have to open up empty stadiums. Well, here's the thing. When you shut down spring training in mid-March, you knew that was very much a possibility, and you still agreed to full prorated salaries. So, regardless of the fact that you're going to lose 40% of your potential revenue from the games because you can't have fans in the stadiums, you can't sell ticket prices, you can't sell popcorn and hot dogs, you can't sell merchandise and things of that nature, you knew that going into this, and you still said, okay, full prorated salaries. So I get it that they make the case that they want to have a season because while they'll make a loss on regular season games, they make profit on the playoffs, and you can't have playoffs without some sort of a season. Whether it's 30, 40, 50 games, you have to have a season to have playoffs to base that on. And so the owners have been sitting on how many games and trying to push back the start of the season as long as humanly possible to make because they made the argument that as long as we negotiated it in good faith and we got in as many games as possible, they would hand it over to the commissioner if they couldn't agree and say, you make the schedule and we'll go with that. They both agree to those terms. Now, 3 months later, they're at the point where they're about ready to hand this over to the commissioner because neither side can agree on a variety of terms. Now, I get it, that the biggest element of these negotiations has been number of games and has been money, but it's not the only issue here. There's also health and safety of the players, of the staff, of the fans, which is where all of this big money issue comes into play. Because in order to protect the fans, you can't have them in the ballpark. In order to protect the players, you have to have certain protocols to keep them safe. And players are used to a certain degree of conditioning, equipment, and resources available to them to get ready for the daily grind every single game. I get it, you're playing baseball. So that whole daily grind thing is like, okay, but you're still playing an athletic sport here. You're still running, you're still catching, you're still driving on the ground, you're still having to bat. I mean, you spend 8 hours in a batting cage and tell me how you're feeling. You throw 100 pitches at the very full strength you can, and you tell me how you're feeling. It does wear down a person's body. So I get it, the conditioning, the strengthening, all those things. But that also requires using shared equipment, in which, how are you going to protect against the COVID? Because fundamentally, they're still learning a lot. And back in March, they knew far less then about this thing and how to protect people than they do now. A lot of new information has come out, and they're trying to implement protocols, and they haven't come to any firm, solid agreements over how they're going to protect the fans and the players. That's a secondary issue to the fact that during their Arizona meeting between Manfred and Clark, they agreed in principle to 60 games. So then the Players Association sent a counteroffer of 70, trying to meet somewhere in the middle, around 65 games or what have you. Now, the same way that players have had a hard stance on full prorated salaries and not some sort of additional cuts, the league, Manfred himself, rejected the Players Association counteroffer of 70 games, saying, nope, we're taking a hard stance on 60 games. We're not going to budge on this. You're not going to budge on prorated salaries. We're not going to budge on 60 games. So I'm thinking, okay, fine. You have a number, okay? Nobody wins in this thing because originally the league wanted 40, 50 games. And originally the Players Association wanted 80 plus games. Because fundamentally, if you're on full prorated salaries, that means the more games, the closer you are to your full season salary. I get that. You're not going to get that in this season, and they knew when they shut down spring training in March that wasn't an option. And yes, I get it. If you start spring training this week, you could easily fit in 70 some odd games, not the full 80. But we're looking at now potentially resuming a 2-3 week spring training sometime end of June, early July, getting the seasons rolling, end of July, 27th, 28th, something like that, playing through the end of September, and then having expanded playoffs. I get it. That's a little bit weird, because when you've had 5 teams per league, 10 teams total, and now you're talking 16 teams, fundamentally, from a quality perspective, yes, you had situations where the second wild card go distance and make progress. You had Washington Nationals come in as the wild card this season, and they ended up going all the way to win the World Series. It's certainly possible. You had Kansas City going in a number of years ago as a wild card, winning the World Series. It's certainly possible, but that's on the outside looking in as far as probability is concerned. When you're opening it up to 16 teams, out of a 30-team league, that's just over half the league, then you're bringing in teams that are fundamentally not as sound, not as strong as the top contenders, and sure, it brings in the baseball revenue, it makes the fan bases of those cities happy, but it also gives them far diminished odds of doing anything. They're kind of going to be one and dones, like you have most of the time in the NFL wild cards and the lower seeds in the NBA and NHL. They're just fundamentally not as strong of teams. So, yeah, they wanted the 16 teams in the season. They haven't exactly defined how they would play that out, but they have said they wanted it not just for this postseason, but the next 1 or 2 postseasons, because playoffs bring in more money to the owner. So, of course, they want more playoff games. And in this particular case, when you have a truncated season, you go into this knowing you're losing $600,000 per game on salaries alone, on player salaries alone. You want those playoff games to recap your losses, because fundamentally, as much as you love the game, they are billionaires running professional sports teams because it's a business. They make money off the game. And say what you will about love of the game and sacrifices should make as owners, I get that. But here's the thing. Let's say you own a mom-and-pop grocery store. Are you going to give out free food at a loss to the business because you have underprivileged people who can't afford the food? You're not going to do it at a loss. You could do it as a charity and take a portion of your profits to do it, and that would certainly make you feel good. It would certainly help the people in need. But you're not going to just say, okay, free for all, the whole grocery store. I'm going to throw away all the money I've invested in all these products to help feed the homeless and what have you. It's an honorable cause, no question about it. But fundamentally, you still have to make a living, and they're not doing this baseball season as a charity. It is a business. The owners are spending X number of dollars out of the billions that they have to run a season with their organization. They're looking to, at the very least, break even, and obviously, as business owners are trying to make a profit out of it. Meanwhile, you have millionaire baseball players who they recognize that after X number of years playing this game, that's it. They're not getting a dime out of the game. And while there are upper echelon players like your Giancarlo Stanton, like your Bruce Harper, like your Manny Machado, who are walking away with hundreds of millions of dollars from this game, that is on the upper echelon. You have many more players, the vast majority of players, far below that, who, after their playing season's over, have to do something else with their lives that will most likely not make the same kind of money. They have to get as much as they can out of the game to help propel their post-playing careers. Having said that, we come back down to where are we going to settle on the number of games. Right now, it looks like we're looking at 60 games, end of July, going into September, full prorated salaries to the players. They have not officially publicly agreed to this, but that looks like where we're heading. As far as health and safety, there's still a number of issues they have to hash out, and in recent development in spring training camps has indicated a bump in the road in that regard. New cases have been developed at various spring training campuses, and in Florida, the Philadelphia Phillies and the Toronto Blue Jays have had to shut down their spring training facilities completely. Back when they closed the spring training, shut down the season and the spring training in March, all owners said we're going to leave the facilities open. Those who want to leave and go back home can. Those who want to stay can. And they left a certain number of coaches and training staff available to those players to stay on site, to get workouts, to stay in shape, all those things. Well, now you've got camps 3 months later who are saying we have new cases with players and staff. We have to completely shut down these Florida facilities and send everybody home. Done. Philadelphia and Toronto in Florida have shut down completely. In Arizona, San Francisco and Texas have shut down completely because they have confirmed actual new cases among both players and staff, and not just one, but multiple. So out of abundance of caution for these facilities, for the players, for the staff, for their families, they've completely shut down, and they have to figure out how they're going to move forward. Now, now the rest of the camps are still physically open, and owners and managers and management are trying to figure out how to negotiate how they're going to handle this. As somebody who is not a medical expert, who only knows what I see in the paper about precautions, they have to consult their medical experts and act accordingly. I don't know what that entails for each club specifically, but they have to negotiate how they're going to handle these new cases and the health and safety going forward if they're even going to open up for a season at all. At this point in time, I realize it looks completely unknown whether or not they're having a season. But fundamentally, as we get closer to the end of the season, there's more weight on putting on a season, because fundamentally, if the owners don't get a season, they don't get the postseason profits. They lose on that one. If the players don't have a season, they don't get any salaries. That whole prorated means zero in their pockets. So they both have incentive to have a season of some kind. Therefore, while they've been screwing around negotiating without meeting in person for 3 months, you're now getting towards the back end of what would have been a season, and they have a little extra incentive and motivation to actually hash something out. So I personally think there will be a season, because fundamentally it's a lose-lose for everyone involved, owners, players, and fans alike, if they don't have anything at all. At least if they have something, fans get something to watch, owners get the playoffs to benefit from, and players get the money from their truncated salaries, from the prorated salaries. So everybody gets something, even if no one's 100% happy. So they have incentive to make that happen. Let me know what you think about what I think. Do you think they're going to have a season? Do you think they're going to work things out? And if you just happen to come across this video while surfing YouTube, please hit like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. I'd love to hear all your thoughts about what's going on. I realize a lot of baseball fans I've been talking to have not been paying attention to any of this stuff and don't think there's going to be a season. And fundamentally, players and owners, that's what you did to your fan base. You made them give up on the season. And that sucks for you as owners and players. It really does. So, as always, thank you for watching. Love to hear what you think about all this. Please leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for watching.